Hi again, this is Jade Rain, Empowerment Self-Defense Instructor. This is the third video in a series of videos for parents and legal guardians who have their child signed up in my self-defense class, most likely at a middle school or a high school. So the topic of today's video is how to have conversations with your child or children about body boundaries, healthy, safe body boundaries. So in my classes, every class I teach, including the mothers and daughters classes and other classes in the community, we do an assertiveness exercise where we sit in a circle and we practice how to respond to unwanted touching. So I'm going to describe this a little bit and encourage you to do the same kind of thing at home with your child, where you are role playing. And you're going to touch them on the shoulder, or you might caress their hair, or you might come in to try to hug them or put your hand on their knee or whatever. And you're going to give them opportunities to practice saying, no, don't touch me. I don't want you to touch me. I don't feel comfortable with you touching me like that. There's different ways to word it. Sometimes they're commands, like a simple no, stop, don't touch me, leave me alone. And assuming they're not grabbed, your child should also be walking away, creating a larger distance between themselves and the person who was just touching them. And so that's an important thing, to create distance, to step back or walk away or run away, depending on the level of, nervousness or fear they might be feeling. So they are in charge of their bodies. This is what you want to tell them consistently over time. A lot of parents will have these conversations with children when they're little, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 years old. And then they think, oh, we've had that conversation a few times when they're little. I'm done. No need to talk about it again. And I disagree. I think that we should be having those conversations with our children at least twice a year, if not every 3 or 4 months. Depends on the child. You know your child, I don't. Maybe you need to have those conversations with your child once a month, once a week, whatever feels right and makes sense to you. But it should never go longer than like 6 months, until they're 15, 16, and they're rolling their eyes and saying, Mom, Dad, Grandma, we've talked about this so many times. I remember, I got it. I know what to do, right? You will hit that point like I did with my daughter when she turned 15. So the message you want to consistently give them is, you decide. It's your decision who touches you, when they touch you, and how. And then to use different examples. So one example is what might look like initially as just kind of harmless, innocent affection. Someone puts their hand on your shoulder, or maybe they caress your hair, or they might give you a little neck rub, but it's all initiated by the toucher with no ask, would you like a neck rub? Or are you comfortable if I put my hand on your shoulder? Or do you want a hug right now? Or can I have a hug? A lot of people, peers and adults, will assume it's okay to touch a person. We're talking about your children right now. People will assume it's okay to touch your child, when your child may not want to be touched. They may not feel comfortable with that person, that specific person, or they may not want anyone to touch them. Some kids don't like to be touched. And it's really important that you and all the other family members respect that at home. So you can be role modeling healthy boundaries and what consent looks like and what consent feels like at home, so that when they leave home and they're at school, getting their first job, out in the world, they start dating, they know what it feels like. They know what it looks like. They know what it sounds like when someone is asking for consent. They hear a yes, I'm happy to hold your hand, or yes, I'd love a hug. And they know what it feels like when someone is ignoring their boundaries and disrespecting their boundaries and touching them anyway, even though they're uncomfortable and they may have said not to. Okay, so with a hand on your shoulder, for example, and you can practice this at home, you would say, all right, hey kiddo, let's practice setting really good, healthy, safe boundaries like you learned in the self-defense class. So how about this? Why don't I approach you like I'm another kid at school, or maybe I'm an older kid in the neighborhood, or maybe I'm a teacher or another adult in the neighborhood or a friend who's visiting. You can pick whoever you want, right? And I've come up to say hello and I've put my hand on your shoulder. So that's the initial touching. And you are not comfortable with it. You don't want that person to touch you in that way. And so then their response, which is what they practice in class, is to take control of that hand that's touching them and physically move it off their body. Now, when it's on their knee, when the other student next to them is touching their knee, I have them use two hands, firmly pick up that hand and physically move it away with some strength. Not aggressive, not really hard, like squeezing really hard and like slamming it away. Not, that's a little bit exaggerated for most of these situations we face in life, but to firmly pick up the hand and physically move it away. And look them in the eye, have really good eye contact. Now, if you're sitting, it's a little hard to move, but if you're standing, you have a lot more flexibility, right? You're gonna turn and look at that person in the eye and say, don't touch me. And that's pretty radical for some people, not just kids and adults are like, ooh, oh no, I don't want to be that direct, that firm. Like, it sounds like I'm being mean. I don't want them to reject me, not like me, think I'm a bitch. You know, there's all kinds of things that come up for us when we try to imagine, especially children and adults who are really worried about fitting in, right? The more we want to fit in and the more we're feeling worried about other people's approval of us, then the harder it is to set these boundaries. So I do talk about three versions in class. The first version is actually like what I call the socially acceptable response. So you would take the hand off, you would turn and face the person, removing their hand from your body, and then just start talking. Oh, hey, how's it going? How was your weekend? How was your vacation? You know, how's your mom and dad? How are your brothers and sisters? So you've communicated not verbally, but physically by taking the hand off your body and then turning and stepping back at a little more of a distance. And that person might try to touch you again. We also practice that. What if they try to touch you a second time? What do you say the next time? But the initial response, the socially acceptable response, is you don't have to address it directly. You can just turn and start having a conversation, but you have physically moved their hand off of you, okay? Then the next variation of this, the next way we practice, is when we imagine, okay, I'm getting a creepy vibe from this person. I'm getting an icky, yucky, creepy vibe from the person touching me. So I'm gonna have a stronger reaction to tell them not to touch me. Or maybe this person has touched me dozens of times before. I've like shrunk away, I've moved their hand off, I've tried to be sweet and nice and friendly all those past times, and I am done. I am done being sweet, nice, and friendly. I am annoyed, I am frustrated. They're being disrespectful. They should know that I'm not comfortable with their touch because we've had all these interactions already. And now I'm done. I'm gonna be firm and I'm gonna be direct. So hand goes on the shoulder, or maybe touching the arm or the knee or the back, and then you turn, you take the hand off of you, and you say, don't touch me. And there's no apology. Not, oh, I'm so sorry, please don't touch me. Like, watch out. If your kids start to kind of shrink, that is them feeling insecure, thinking they don't have the right to say, stop touching me, or don't touch me, or I don't like it when you touch me. The only reason that we shrink when we're trying to express that is because we don't believe we have the right to say that. And we're nervous that they might be annoyed or frustrated or angry with us and think that we're being uncool or unkind or mean or rude, okay? So you can be such a huge help for your child to reframe all of that. That when they set boundaries, that's not rude, and that they have your support, and that we can frame it in a positive way. Like, Good for you. Good boundaries. You were really assertive right then. And I do that in class. Just things will come up and students will say no to things. I'll be like, good job. Good job setting boundaries. Very assertive. I love it. I love seeing that. I'm always positive and supportive, and I'm asking you to be that way too. And what's hard, I'm a mom, so I know that sometimes it's hard when our kids are really firm and direct and are saying no to us. Or I've experienced that myself. Like sometimes I really want a hug. It has nothing to do with whether or not they want a hug. I want a hug. And so there have been times where I might initiate affection with my daughter or my son over the years. And they might shrink away or push me away, right? Maybe they're annoyed with me. Maybe it's just the mood they're in. Maybe it's just the phase they're in. They don't want as much affection as they did when they were younger, right? So it can be hard. It can sting a little bit. But please maintain that perspective that you want them to have practice at home, setting healthy boundaries that are right for them. Whatever body boundaries are right for them in that moment. They might hug you 20 times in a week, and then the next time they're like, no, I don't want to hug right now. Don't touch me. And what I'm encouraging you to do is say, good job setting boundaries. That was so clear. You were very articulate. You expressed that really well, right? Praise them, encourage them, let them know that they have your support. Okay. The last type of dealing with unwanted touching is when you or your child are feeling threatened. They're scared. They feel like this is the beginning of an attack. And I don't trust this person. I have huge intuition warning bells going off inside, like get away, get away, get away, don't let them touch you. And then it's much stronger. And I actually teach them, as the person is reaching for you, right? If they're in front of you, you may not be able to see them approaching you if they're behind you, but if they're in front of you and they're approaching you and you have that, we're imagining, right? We're practicing in class or at home. You're having a strong intuition. No, that is not acceptable. No, like, the warnings or bells are going off. Then don't just stand there passively and allow the person to touch you. If you're having that strong reaction, fuel that. That energy is adrenaline. That's part of our flight or fight response. Channel that through your voice and say, hey, no, stop. And that's when we would get into defensive stance and put up our hands in a stop sign. No, stop. Do not touch me. Go. You might start pointing and commanding them. Go away. Leave me alone. Get away. Back out. Get out of my house. Get out of my car. Whatever. And also backing up safely at the same time. And of course, at any moment, if it feels good and right to run, then run fast, full of adrenaline, right? Got the fight or flight response. Run to safety. Run home, run to your friend's house, run into a business that has their lights on, run into a crowded area, run towards a family with young children. They typically are very supportive and helpful of children who need help. So those are the three levels. The socially acceptable response, where you remove the hand from your body, wherever it is, and you just keep talking. Hey, I'm being friendly. I'm asking you about your life, your weekend. I'm looking at you in the eye, and I'm, facing you directly, right? Good, strong, assertive body language. And the second version is where you've hit your limit, you're done, you don't like it, don't feel like you're in danger, but you're very clear and you're ready to be to use more clear, direct command. Don't touch me. I don't like that when you touch me like that. Just stop. And you might have a conversation with someone about, that's like the 10th time you've done that, and I'm really annoyed right now. Like I'm really sick of it, right? And then the third kind is when someone's coming towards you to touch you, maybe to grab you, maybe to touch you in a sexual way that you don't want, and you see them coming and you just instantly go into self-defense mode, right? Into defensive stance. Good eye contact, yelling, loud commands, and backing away or running away. Okay, so those are ways that you can support your child having safe, healthy boundaries around unwanted touch, and please practice with them at home and imagine them being in the places where they typically go. Like you're walking down the street to your friends, or you're at your friend's house, or you're at grandma's house, or at your cousin's house, or you are at the movie theater, or, oh, you're 15, you just started your first job. Let's imagine scenarios there, right? Let's imagine, what if it's an adult? What if it's a neighbor? What if it's a family friend coming over? What if it's one of your teachers or some other adult that works at school? So you want to have them imagining a wide range of situations, locations and people and types of touch. Okay, good luck with that.